Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It's about half an hour. I don't see anybody being able to come today. All our associates, but I have briefly put in the meeting, summary chart, all these uh, situations as well as uh, the collaborating scientists. But today I will just briefly give a summary of what we are doing. Um, for example, I am working right now, after like 40 plus publications, peer-reviewed publications, and a lot of breakthroughs in understanding the physics, the unified physics. It starts from first of all, for Emmanouil's, work we had, myself and Emmanouil work, the vortex field and gradient field. That's the almost the proposition. So from there we developed one by one because that should, if you extrapolate it, if you advance it, we should be able to explain many other things of the physics and hopefully bring together all the forces, understand the forces. And in that process, there are a lot of publications we talked about how exactly the fields work. And they are discontinuum fields. My work with Emery Taylor is the discontinuum length, which is speed of light times the Planck time. And I believe Planck time is more fundamental. So that's about 10 to minus 26 meters approximately. So that is the smallest length. And we know you have to have a finite length. And we believe there are three phases, along with my work with Emmanouil and also Christopher, Christian, Gerd, and all others, Manuel Malaver, all of us, and John Hodge earlier has contributed, Wenzhong Zhang. And all of us together believe that there is a superlunar phase, faster than speed of light. And everything is created from there, and it could have, I believe that, monopolar symbol, and that creates the asymmetry of radian asymmetry of the fields, and that eventually translates to all that gravity and all those aspects. So from that superlunar phase, we have or PDP mechanism that creates a clocking mechanism that creates start creating particles that stabilizes and creates a vacuum which is an interface where the speed of light is held constant. So then you have sublunar level where real particles exist, which is slower than the speed of light, or the maximum limit is the speed of light. So they all seem to work together. So recently I have done based on error analysis, and as we know that the error function complementary is a solution to fixed equation, diffusion equation. I believe that the 18th century before that studied a lot about diffusion gases and gravity diffusion, things like that. And many other scientists follow that because it has some fundamental aspect that can describe the real processes of nature, the micromechanism as well. I have used it, although not exactly that, but the diffusivity in IPC model, I call that PC model of the electrochemistry, to study the material environment mechanism, the hydrogen entry of the materials. And I believe very much the error function is used in corrosion aspects, as well as some other diffusion probability theories, things like that. But I have applied that now, the error function and the error function complementary solution to understand about the physics of information waves and the ability to that. And then we manipulate error function has x power x over square root of d times d, and the d can be changed to gf, which is a characteristic that comes from my general transforms creations that I published eventually. That shows that all universes are black box, things like that. Just talks about everything is transformed into the rotation of time and also scalar fields. That's it. So and the GF is the characteristic that connects between the two. And so I have published these in many peer-reviewed papers. So these, when we use that, into the error function, because I can manipulate x over to square root of t in terms of the velocity x over t, and then I get square root of gf times time. So that velocity for information wave is speed of light. So then I have constants, so all that varies with time, and then based on that, I can come up with a plot, and then I find that the error function that, and also error function complementary, that it has manifestation like the that we see in the one horizon or a black hole or a web, things like that. They all come together that we study, and then when we do the dynamics of time, what we see is that it looks like a slinky going on yo-yo. So that shows that it's dynamic, but also it can reset, and we see that that's true for the information that has happened over the last few decades. The 1960s, I am touching. A lot of the patterns reset. The world events also reset to that pattern, and this describes how the resetting occurs. Now, without going much further, because later presentations present the derivation of these. Another aspect that comes out, the characteristic aspect, is the clock. It's a very important aspect. So there's individual clock for any particular entity, and the information comes from the global or astrophysical level to that entity, which could be at the quantum level even, and then the time starts from that entity. Once that entity is real, only then the time is there. There is no time in the superluminal level. So the entity that's real has a clocking mechanism, and we actually know the PDT already talks about that clocking mechanism. So it maintains that mechanism. So there's individual clock, but then each particle separated, different particles have different clocks. So the individual clock, then they start communicating, and the communication will be probably like a gravitation field, which is much faster than speed of light. We have found that it's many orders of magnitude faster than speed of light. So the communication clock, what we call the overall communication clock, is different from the individual clock, and it's much faster. Like instinct. Instinct is probably a communication clock, whereas a thought is an individual clock. We can analyze further about this later, but the main aspect that comes out is the how they all come together, and also I can manipulate that equation, their function equation, psi x over square root of t, in terms of understanding about space, right? So then when I do that, I have square root of x over t, then I have multiply with square root of gf times x. So now I talk about space. So when I manipulate again speed of light and everything, information wave, I have equations where it's a constant standard, it's like a standard clock you get for corresponding distance of a 500 meters. And I talked about why that is important for linear operator of time in another publication. So when you put all these together, you see that in terms of electromagnetism, we can talk about electric vortexing, electric field vortexing, and a magnetic field that goes up and down, and that's more like light. But we have the conjugate of that, which is magnetic vortexing, and the electric field, which is probably true of vibrations, forms, and things like that, real matter. But that cannot be included. You can prove that cannot be included in the two-dimensional space. So we have to talk about higher dimensions. Recently, we have been talking, Christian iSpace talked about Kylie manifold, which is six-fold space, but Christopher's extensive work on geometry space said that could be only a 4D space, toroidal space, and he has proof for that. And then my work on the time tells that from that general transforms, I can pull out a matrix of time, which is 2x2 matrix. So I have the global time, the local time, the proper time, the real time. These are the things that comes out of it. But they could be, they should do more from the symmetry and other aspect. called the quantum time as well as the subscale time. So we have the six-fold manifold, but I cannot call it Taiguya because that's more of a real structure type thing for pure space. But in this case, it's a virtual topology. So I call it a virtual topology, six-fold manifold of time. Okay, so then I think they should be totally of 10 dimensional. I talked about 5-dimensional space, which does, and then of space, time, and sense in one of my books, Absolute Genesis. But we also see that, from the point of dynamics, things like that, there has to be, and the symmetry dynamics, there has to be double that, because those are almost like static space. The dynamics will require 10-dimensional space. I think we can prove it. So if you have four-dimensional geometry of space and 6-dimensional virtual topology of the six-fold manifold of time, totally 10-dimensional, I think can describe all of the processes of the world. Now, the other aspect of gravity, which I briefly talked about last time, is that there is a Bernoulli effect that can describe about the gravitational processes. The Bernoulli effect that creates, and we know that very much depend on the shape of the object. So we can, if it's a flat beam type object, because of the faster speed of fluids on top, it can create a lower pressure and then lift it up. So it's a levitation field. But the normal object will try to, because of the energy aspects, the volume free energy and the surface free energy, they will start to become more rounded. And in that case, it's just a balance of Bernoulli, the Bernoulli effect on top and the inverse Bernoulli effect at the bottom. So they balance each other. So the gravity and levitation by each other. And we see the terminal velocity, things like that, or parachutes, which proves that. Now, but eventually we know in general for objects, from Galileo's experiment, everything, that gravity wins over. So how does that work? So that's where the quantum aspects come into picture. The Bernoulli effect, we look at the quantum fundamental level. We can show that it has a monopolar aspect associated to that pressure. And then we have, it aligns the main lines in terms of the polarity, north-south, and forms a magnetic line, virtual magnetic line. Of course, if that is dynamically changing, it produces a electric protection field around that. So when we calculate that, we see that the magnetic field, because higher pressure down, it can pull it down, and that's the virtual gravity. But also, because of the gravitational effect, which is quantum level, it can pull other objects to it, like accretion. And although, the non-magnetic objects also manifest that, so we have to explain that. But the quantum level, we know that there's atomic magnetism that has been proved. And so there are electrons and positrons in that ultimate level that we believe, including Christian and Christopher, that they all are correlations of the electron positron aspects. So when we put all this together, we'll see that gravity is an indirect effect. So of the magnetic aspects, the electromagnetic, electrostatic aspects. And Christian has proved, Christian Wolff has proved that we can, from his theory of iSpace, that when you adjust the parameters correctly, they are exactly the same. Gravity and electromagnetic forces are the same. So those are, those go into the understanding of how exactly all these work together. And we believe that we can put them together. And our further projects and exciting things that's going on, we'll try to unify that, many levels of quantum, gravity, modified Newtonian dynamics, discontinuous physics, or astrophysics that I talked about with Manuel Malaver, and the geometry of space and first official geometries that are talked with, that we have going on with Christopher Emil, and then Emmanouil's multi-phase systems that talk about gravitons and how they are connected to the electrons, things like that structure. So that's an extensive work that's going on. And then Wenzhong and Zhang also had the understanding how the photons and the main aspects come together, as well as the all other forces. So we can actually unify all the forces. The weak nuclear, the strong nuclear, the electromagnetic, and also the gravitational things. All are manifestations of this unified field. So we are coming to that, but there's a lot of work to be done. And exciting aspect also, we plan to have a Hawaiian conference in a few years, within a few years, and then establish world universities. Hawaiian conference is a way to have scientists coming together, starting with, let's study that, the global aspects, then form the world university. So every year we can different locations around the earth. We can hold conferences, that in-person conferences that scientists can attend, and then together everything. So you want to simplify things as well as bring together all the people together to see a collective understanding of what it is. And we always discuss and debate. We don't simply accept that, because everybody has their own theories. So we have to all come together and find a common ground on which we agree on. And I think it's possible, because we are all the workers, because I have these different teams or groups working together, but I think they are all coming to coalescing into the collective unified physics. And I have hope that in the future that we will understand more in terms of this error signal analysis, dimensions, and so on and so forth. The spatial geometry, temporal topology, gravity, and the strong nuclear, weak nuclear, how that modifies the general theory of relativity. Because general theory may be conceptually correct, but I think mathematically it's kind of convoluted in some sense, that many of us believe. Same with quantum mechanics, the same problem with the quantum mechanics. But conceptually they are correct, because the standard model has proved to be the most useful in terms of explaining the observations, right? The collider, the LHC, Hadron Collider, as well as the astrophysical gravitational waves, cosmic microwave background. So there are so many. And the black hole may be an indirect effect. Black hole may be an indirect effect, but still there's a lot of black hole physics going on that describes about the origin of the universe. So all these processes have a lot of pluses, and they are the best available now, but they have a problem, like spectroscopy, which gives wrong answers, and not small, but large orders of magnitude difference. So they had to be resolved, definitely. And I think what we are doing will help to resolve that aspect, and then put it in the right perspective, how everything comes together, and then join together. So I want to close this session for today. I don't see anybody else. I just want to give a brief outline, just of what we are talking about, or what we are working on, all the project physics. And we'll continue next week with the same forum, and hopefully many of our scientists will be able to join at that time. And then we'll have a session that will discuss more in-depth aspects. And eventually we'll have presentations, so on and so forth. That has been going on, as we know. Even TEGS phase 2 has more than 22. And the previous one, regular one, that has more than 23. So we have more than 40 recorded videos of meetings with various scientists around the world, and other presentations on wide-ranging topics in quantum and astrophysical and microscopic levels. And I think we'll continue doing that. So I will close the session for today, and then we'll see you next week.